What's up guys, my name's Alec and today I will be doing a maintenance video on my VW Passat B5.5. I will go over the parts I normally change when doing a maintenance on this car. I will show you how I change them. I'll also show you how to reset the service lights on the car, and then in the end I'll be breaking down the maintenance costs on this car. This car has the 1.9 TDI that develops 131 horsepower, so it's the engine code AVF. So basically the maintenance I'm doing right now will also apply to other models that have this engine, not only the Passat. So these are the parts I normally change when I do a maintenance on this car. Starting with the cabin filter. After that we have the oil. I normally go for Castrol because that's what VW recommends. The brand isn't that important if it's a good quality brand, but what's important is for it to be the right spec, which is 5W40 for these engines, and it's also very important for it to have the VW specification, which is the 50500 or 50501, which is very important for these PD engines. Over here I have the fuel filter, which I don't change every maintenance. I normally do it every 2 maintenance. After that we have the oil filter, which is every maintenance of course, and the air filter, which also every maintenance goes without saying. And I also have a oil dipstick and a oil dipstick funnel. Now I don't normally change these. It's the first time I do because well, my funnel broke, and yeah, they're so cheap, so I might just as well replace them. Now with all the parts here, let's start changing them. I've been to the mechanic, guys, and I've changed the parts I showed you. Well, I've been to a mechanic because he's my friend, and it was easier for me. He had a lift and everything. I wanted to film over there, but it was way too noisy. But I'm still going to show you how everything is done. I'm going to explain to you now and show you. And if you don't understand something, just write a comment and I'll try to answer for you. Now the first step is to remove the engine cover, which is screwed on by 3 10mm bolts. So first we will start with the cabin filter, which you can find right here. So for the cabin filter you don't actually need to remove the engine cover, but to access it first you need to pull this rubber strip off. Then it's good to take the battery cover off and then just put it aside, and then pull this plastic bit. I'm gonna do it. I need my both hands to do it, and I'll show you guys after. This is the cabin filter. To remove it, all you need is pull this clip up and out, and then you grab it and you take it out. Now I'm not gonna do that because I just changed it. When you put the new one in, it's important to put it with the airflow arrow facing down, because that's how the air flows in. It comes from above and flows in to the car. Once you put the new one in, just take the clip and push it back in, and that's it. You can put back the plastic cover and put the rubber strip back on. Once the cabin filter is changed and you've put everything back in, we can go ahead and change the air filter, which is hidden underneath this plastic box. Yours is probably going to be covered with 2 plastic caps. I only have 1 left. And you need to pop them out, and then you're going to have 2 Phillips screws to unscrew. Then you go ahead and remove the cover. Now, to access the air filter, which is underneath here, you could remove this plastic. Wait, let me show you guys. You should remove this plastic hose too, which you basically slide it out. You take it and you just slide it from above over here, and then you just slide it out from here. Like this. And now you have more space. So the air filter is in this box right here, which is closed with 3 clips. One over here, one over here, and then behind you can see it right here. So you just need to pull them to unclip them. I pulled the one over there, you pull the one over here, you pull the one over here, and as you can see, if you pull this box up, we access the air filter. Now the space is pretty tight here, but the air filter isn't that thick, so I recommend trying to hold this open and squeezing the air filter out of there, and then putting the new one back in, closing the box, and clip back all 3 clips. Now once the clips are back on, we need to reconnect this by simply pushing it in here and back in here, and then putting back the cover with the 2 Phillips screws. So the bigger rectangle goes down and the smaller rectangle, or whatever kind of shape this is, goes horizontally. Also, don't forget to put the covers back in. I only have one, but if you have 2, then the better. Now, before I show you how to change the fuel filter, I'm going to quickly talk about the dipstick funnel and the dipstick itself, the old dipstick. Basically, you take the old dipstick out, then you grab the orange funnel and you pull it out, and then you just push the new one back in. So it's pretty straightforward. Now for the fuel filter, which is located here, you're going to need some pliers. You only need to remove this hose and this hose. For these 2 hoses, just pull this metal clip out and you can pull them straight up. Be careful where you put this to not lose it, the metal clip. Once these are pulled out, you're also going to have the fuel filter held on by some sort of clamp over here. I don't have it anymore because I broke it about a year ago. Basically, you just need to unscrew it a bit and then you'll be able to pull the fuel filter up. Now be careful because this one holds a lot of fuel in it. So be careful not to spill it. Just pull it straight up. Once you've pulled it straight up, you can put the fuel that's in it in the new fuel filter. So basically it's gonna flow out of here, because if you don't and you attempt to start the engine, the system's gonna catch a lot of air because this is filled with fuel which is supposed to go to the engine, and there won't be any fuel here anymore. You can either pour this fuel in the new fuel filter, or before you start the engine you can just turn the ignition on a couple times and wait for a bit for the fuel pump to pump fuel into the fuel filter. So once you're ready to put the new fuel filter in, just put it back over here. You can screw it back with the clamp on and then put both hoses back and these 2 hoses with the metal clip. Now once you did the fuel filter, it's time to do the oil filter, which is over here. Now I think you need a 76mm wrench for it, or just an oil filter wrench. And what you're going to do is unscrew it, remove the oil filter, be careful there's going to be oil dripping, and put it aside until we change the engine oil, which is the next step. Now to remove the oil from the car, you must first remove the under tray, which is held by multiple Phillips screws, remove them, and if you try to remove the tray and it doesn't come off, don't try to pull it apart. Maybe you missed a screw. And then once you're going to be under the car, around here, it's going to be the oil pan, and the oil sump screw is a 19 millimeter. So you need to unscrew it, drain the oil. I'm going to attach a video of how the oil was drained. I managed to film that whilst I was at the mechanic, and let it drain for 10 minutes. Be sure everything is drained, and then put the sump plug back on. Be sure to screw it properly, and you can put the tray back on, and you'll come to the next step. With the sump plug back on and the tray back on, it's time to put the new oil filter, which you're gonna have that removed. You're gonna take the old oil filter apart. Take also the seals from it. You take the new seals from the new oil filter. I recommend putting your fingers in the new oil you just got and priming the seals a bit before putting them back on the oil filter. And once you put the seals back on, you plug the new filter back in, and then you put it back in here, screw it. It says here to 25 Newton meters. I recommend hand tightening it until you actually can't anymore, and then just helping yourself with the wrench a little bit more. Once all that is back in and you have the new oil filter put in, you can start putting in the new oil. Unscrew this cap and put around 4 liters of oil. I recommend putting 4 liters and then checking with the oil dipstick if you underfilled it or overfilled it, or if it's just perfect. I put 4 liters and it was just enough. And now once everything is back on, you put the oil, you check the level, you put the oil cap back on. The final step is to put back the engine cover. Before putting the engine cover back on, you need to remove the oil dipstick. Now, put the oil dipstick back in. And screw the engine cover bolts back on with the 10 millimeter. So, because you changed the fuel filter on the car, it is possible for it to have caught a little bit of air in the system. So when you start the engine, I recommend revving it up to 2000 RPMs for 20 to 30 seconds, just so that you can get rid of that air, because if you don't, your engine might die because there's no fuel for a brief moment because of the air in the system. Now, to reset the service light, all you must do is first turn off the ignition completely, then hold the trip button, then you turn the ignition back on, which will say service now, and then you take the clock button and you turn it to the right, and then now the service light should be gone. We'll check it again. As you can see, it doesn't appear anymore. Now, talking about the cost for all the parts I changed, so basically for a normal maintenance on this car, I'm going to give them to you now. I live in Romania, but I converted our prices to euros, so at least, you know, more of you guys can actually understand the prices. So starting with the oil filter, that was €5.30. Now, before I give you also the other cost, I just want to point out that I didn't go for the cheapest parts. I also didn't go for the most expensive parts. I went for a brand that I have used before and for which I have no complaints. I'm not sponsored by them, but that's the truth. After that, the fuel filter, that was €15. Now, as I told you guys, I don't change the fuel filter every maintenance. I change it once every 2 maintenance, so that means every 2 years or every 20,000 kilometers. Yeah, I also wanted to add that. So I do the maintenance on this car yearly or when I hit 10,000 kilometers. I don't drive it that much, so normally I hit 10,000 kilometers also when I hit the 1 year mark. And I changed the fuel filter because I actually did a mistake about 1 year ago where I accidentally put unleaded in this car. I put petrol instead of diesel, and I had to change the fuel filter because the car wouldn't start anymore. and I went for the cheapest fuel filter just because I knew that I would only have it until I get that sorted out, and then I'll put a better one in. After that, we have the air filter, which was €8. The cabin filter was €20. Now, the cabin filter was more expensive. It was the most expensive part from here, a part of the oil. You'll see the price for the oil in a minute. It's more expensive because it has active carbon. I live in Bucharest, the capital of Romania, which is a polluted city. So I'd rather spend a bit more but have a better cabin filter than spend less but also have less quality air. After that, the oil. So I bought 5 liters of oil. As I told you, there's 4 liters that go in this car, but a liter spare doesn't hurt. Now, this car doesn't consume oil. I don't have the need to top it up between oil changes, but it's always good to have some extra oil in it. And after that, the oil dipstick and the oil dipstick funnel, they were €5 in total. And I told you I only changed them because I broke the funnel a couple months ago. So I was like, why not also change the dipstick while I'm at it? That brings us a total of €86.3. I also brought my car to the mechanic, so if you guys are going to bring it to a mechanic, you also need to add that price in. But the maintenance is fairly easy to do it at home. I just didn't because the mechanic I went to has a lift, and it's easier to get under the car and do the oil change. But the rest I showed you, and you guys saw it was pretty easy and pretty straightforward. I find it to be a decent price, actually a good price, to maintain this car. It's a reliable car. It doesn't consume much fuel. It's, you know, to have to pay €83 or 86.3, my bad, once every 10,000 kilometers or once every year, I don't find that bad at all. So that was the video for today. I'm sorry I couldn't actually show you how the parts were changed. I hope you guys understood from how I explained. If you didn't, please leave a comment down below, and I'm going to try to help you out as much as I can. That was it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to see other videos with this car, please tell me what you want to see about it. And yeah, I'll see you next time.